Hey everyone, Katie and Sergeant Steele here. Today, I'm back with another list review, and we're doing another throwback to a 6th edition formation called the Emperor's Blade Assault Company. Now, some of the units don't exist anymore that were in this formation back in 6th edition, and now I'm reviewing it for 10th. So in particular, that is the Veterans unit. So I'm going to take some creative liberty here in order to kind of make this work and to bring it to 1,000 points so that we can talk about this as a starter army and a starter list. So let's dive into it. Now, this requires normally a company command squad, 3 units of veterans, and 3 Hellhound squadrons. Well, the Hellhound squadrons don't exist anymore, and the veterans don't exist anymore. The Hellhounds do, just not the squadrons of them. So what we're going to do instead is I've reimagined this with Kazarkin, and that's the way I'm going to run it. I know technically we have veterans with the Death Corps Krieg, but they don't have the same weapon options and ballistic skill and the other benefits veterans had in 7th edition and earlier. So I think the Kazarkin reflect that best when it comes to that. So let's dive into it and let's talk about what I actually have here in this 1,000-point list. This also requires that every unit takes a transport. So that's why we're seeing a whole row of vehicles. So what we have to start out with, characters. We have a Cadian Castellan and a Primaris Psyker. This is because these units actually complement Kazarkin fairly well. The Primaris Psyker is great at killing Space Marines and other elites with its psychic attack and keeping units alive with its great ability to give you a 4-up invuln save during your opponent's shooting phase, which is really nice. It also has an innate 4-up feel no pain against psychic attacks while leading a unit, but most of us take the Primaris Psyker for that 4-up invuln save during your opponent's shooting, which can be really handy. And the Castellan, what I really like about the Castellan in this list, even though the Kazarkin don't typically need orders, although it's going to work a little different here because we have transports, the Castellan does allow you to fall back and shoot, which is really important because the Kazarkin want to shoot. They're okay at fighting. They get 2 attacks apiece, but that's really not what they're meant to do. So the Castellan's there to go for your center field kind of unit, and this way if they get into the thick of things, they can fall back and still fire their plasma guns, melta guns, hot shot las guns, and so forth. So what do we have otherwise? Next is our battle line, or really we don't have any, so it's our our infantry choices, which is Kazarkin. So now bear with me, a little bit of imagination here. I do not have 3 units of fully painted Kazarkin. So what I'm doing instead, in honor of this throwback to the 6th edition formation, I'm actually bringing out my old Cadian veteran models that I painted up. So here's Cadian Sergeant Steele, here's Cadian Sergeant Steele done by the super talented Toke, and then my 1 unit of painted Kazarkin. It's really great to get these models back out. I don't know why I didn't think of this before. It's really fun. So they got a lot of character. So let's use our imagination a little bit and pretend these and these are Kazarkin. What I'm going to do is I'm going to recommend the loadout of a plasma pistol and power weapon on each sergeant. We're going to go 2 plasma guns, 2 melta guns, and then a demolition, the melta mine, in each squad as well. Taking the Voxcaster because why not? You can, and still keep your hotshot las guns, and maybe get a CP back if you spend a stratagem on the unit with the Voxcaster. I think this is a really fun way to run them. You could also take the marksman rifle if you want to, but sometimes just for my own brain and the sake of the speed of the game, I like to trim down the weapon options I have so I can roll and get my turnover faster. So I might leave the marksman rifle out just for that reason. Now, for each of them, we're going to have a transport. So we have 3 chimeras, and I have these loaded out with heavy bolters. That's my favorite way to run them. It's pretty universal. You can plink away 2 wounds on a lot of stuff, and surprisingly, with those sustained hits, you can even damage vehicles decently with enough heavy bolter fire. And with those here, we can definitely do the job. Now, of course, flamers are great too, and they can be very effective, especially at clearing out the infantry, but You can already do that with the lasgun arrays on the Chimeras and the hotshot lasguns and the plasma guns in your Kazarkin. So the heavy flamers may not be necessary. It may be necessary to take a more all-comer kind of shooting, which is the heavy bolter in a list like this. Also, you want a hunter killer missile on every single one of your vehicles, because at 1,000 points, you're going to be lacking a little bit of AP punch here. Then we also, of course, we do have the melta-guns in the squad and the hunter killer missiles, but the hunter killer missiles are one-shot. Melta-guns, they're mostly only wounding vehicles on 5-ups. So you want to be cautious and just spam as much as you can in terms of firepower to try to, weight a dice, get through there. The next thing we have, and what really makes this list special, are the 3 Hellhounds. Now, here I have 2 Inferno cannons and 1 Melta cannon. What I would actually recommend in a small scale list like this is 2 Melta cannons with multi-meltas on the hull and 1 Inferno cannon with a heavy flamer on the hull. This is just what I've glued together. And so this is, these 2 here are before I used to magnetize my models. So they're just glued in that way. So I can't swap it out. But I do have one here with the Melta cannon, and it can be pretty deadly. So now looking at this, how's it going to play? How are we going to run it? What are we going to do with it? So there's a few synergies here, and there's a few downsides to this. One, of course, Kazarkin have the innate ability to issue themselves orders. But this is pre-10th edition codex, and as of that, they cannot issue orders while they're inside of a transport. They can while they're in reserves. It's really goofy. Maybe they'll fix that in the codex. So if you're watching this in the future, hopefully Games Workshop has fixed that, and they can issue themselves orders even while in a transport. So you'll lose your orders, but that's okay. What we really want to do is ride inside the Chimeras to stay alive and shoot whatever preferred weapons we have out of the back hatch, either the plasma guns or the melta guns, and just wreak havoc. So essentially, this list is going to be doing drive-bys. Just going around, burning things, flaming things, melta and plasmaing things just into oblivion. And that's really what you want to do. Now, of course, your vehicles are going to get popped. You got to be careful about that. You got to be careful about disembarking. And then once you do, hopefully, if your units live, right, your Kazar can live either after they disembark or emergency disembark out of your transports. Then the following turns, they can issue themselves orders. So you really don't need your Castellan a whole lot unless you want that extra order. If you do find yourself in a situation where you can give themselves an order and the Castellan can issue an order, which, by the way, they can do from inside the Chimera, right? Still a 6-inch order range, but you could do it. Then what you could do is give take cover and take aim. So you're hitting on 2s, and now you have a 3-up armor save, which is always really great. And that, remember, that is a modifier to your armor save characteristic. It doesn't give you actually cover. It's a modifier to your armor save characteristic. So it potentially can stack with actual cover if your opponent has AP. Because what it says is you just can't increase your armor save to above a 3+, but you don't do that with take cover. It just gives you +1 to your save, which is negated by the AP -1. So there's some cool kind of combos you can have here. Keep that in mind when playing your Kazarkin and with transports like this. You also have the ability for the ones that do not have characters attached. I would recommend just attaching the 2 characters to whatever unit's going to run up the middle. Okay, that's to help keep that unit alive and to allow them to fall back and shoot and be more flexible. For the other 2, you're going to get your Scout 6 ability on the dedicated transport with the Kazarkin. That's really, really awesome. That's going to allow you to kind of just either hide or run forward early game to try to grab those objectives. Now, there's nothing here to really hold your backfield, which is a little bit of an issue, but one of the things you could do in this is you could leave back like a Hellhound or maybe 1 unit of Kazarkin inside of a Chimera and just for a few turns to score that objective if need be, or keep them in range so you can quickly drive back and grab the objective. Another thing you could do is literally just leave a Chimera on it and then jump your Kazarkin out and have them run across the board. All these are viable options for being able to hold your backfield, which is always going to be a struggle in a 1,000-point game, especially in a specialty list like this. Now, with your Hellhounds, this is where it gets really fun. So the Hellhounds unit ability is when they shoot at a unit. Everything else that unit loses the benefit of cover for the rest of that turn. And so, therefore, you can use either your melta cannons or your inferno cannons to kind of just take cover away from enemy units. And then that can make your plasma and your melta and your hotshot las guns even more effective against your opponent. And that's really great, especially when you're dealing with a lot of small arm fire. You got to get rid of that extra pip on the dice to be able to get the wounds through on your opponent's army. So I think it combos really well with the Kazarkin. The only downside to this list really is that you don't, well, two downsides. You don't have significant AP, right? Significant strength. Well, you got good AP. Our Inferno Cannons, though, multi-meltas are only strength 9. So that, and besides Hunter-Killer Missiles, I get that, Hunter-Killer Missiles, but they're one use only, and then they're gone. Okay? They're gone. And then you're only going to hit likely with one, maybe two of these at best if you're lucky. Or maybe 3 of them. If you put one on each Hellhound, so you shoot 6 of them, and then maybe you hit 3 times. So you can't really rely on those to take things down. You're going to have to rely on your other fire. That's tough. It can be a challenge, but if you're smart and you gang up and you do weighted dice with your melta and plasma guns and heavy bolters, then I think you can take some stuff down in a 1,000-point game if you come up against armor. Already in a 1,000-point game, this list is going to be very resilient because of all the vehicles. Your opponent's probably not going to take a lot of anti-armor either. The other downside is the weirdness of the orders with the Kazarkin and only having the one commander. So that's going to make it a little tough. Now, what you could do is you could make sure that your unit that you disembark first maybe is the one with your commander. So this way, when they disembark, they can issue those orders, which is very, very helpful. Now, there's no Master Vox here, so you're going to be limited to 6-inch order range. So keep that in mind. As for stratagems, overlapping fields of fire will be great in a list like this, and so would reinforcements to bring back one of these units of Kazarkin, even as strategic reserves to pop in on a board edge with all that melta gun and plasma gun fire and just wipe out the enemy. The other thing you can do is first rank fire, second rank fire. And that is because we have plasma guns, which are rapid fire in here. And so that can be really helpful to get those extra shots. And really cool. And with the hotshot las guns as well. Just get those extra shots in there. And that's really great, right? It can really help you take down Space Marines and so forth. Don't be shy about overcharging your plasma and killing off a few models. It's just going to happen. It's better if you do it while you're in the Chimeras, because it counts as being shot while the Chimera is shooting it. So therefore the mortal wounds go to the Chimera and not your infantry models. Win-win. You can't beat that if you fail your hazardous test. Once you pop out, just go all out, right? If you got 2 wound models that you're trying to take down, overcharge those plasma guns, get the job done, especially with the first rank fire, second rank fire. And if you can combine that with take aim, because you got the Castellan here, and you can do the 2 orders into the Kazarkin, one for themselves, one from the Castellan, even better. So I think this is a really fun and very thematic 1,000-point starter army. Now, of course, with any army like this, it doesn't come in a discount box set. It's going to be a little expensive to get started. Basically each unit you're looking at here is about, $60 US a piece. And so that's going to add up. It's going to add up real quick. But this is something you build, you paint slowly over time. I would never encourage anybody to just dive into this all at once. But if you already had some of these units and you just need to grab a few more to make a list like this, try it out. Be a lot of fun. Now, what would I do next? How would I expand on this list? Well, there's always the typical stuff, a Rogel Dorn and a couple Lehman Russes, and I might even recommend some Krieg or Cadians or infantry squads to hold down the backfield while your Kazarkin kind of do the rush forward. Sentinels, I'm always going to recommend Sentinels in every list, in every combo, and actually I think it kind of fits the Assault Company a little bit. Having that little bit of recon in there to kind of help out. But you can also do some Torox Primes with some Tempestus Scions, and I think that would also be on theme and a lot of fun as well. But you definitely want to think about your anti-armor, and so that's where I might recommend a Rogel Dorn and units similar to that, or maybe your an Exterminator. Leman Russ would be really great. So this way you could get that extra AP on all your other weapons in a list like this, which can really come in handy with like heavy bolters suddenly becoming AP -2. Then you add in overlapping fields of fire, right? And then you get AP -3, which is pretty wild and really effective as well. So lots of different ways you could expand on this list and make it really fun and make it your own and something you could really enjoy. If they fix the Valkyrie, I would also recommend that. Like 3 Valkyries full of Scions would be a lot of fun and really on theme for a list like this. But right now, that's just a lot of points for what the Valkyrie does. That's really the problem, is Valkyries are just overcosted, and they die very easily, to be frank. In my play experience, they go down quickly. But, like I said, I'm recording this video pre-10th edition Codex. This is just for fun. It's a cool thematic 1,000-point list. I like doing these, and so, you know, maybe things will change, and maybe some of these units will shift in their ability and the cool stuff that they do. All right, that's all I have for you today. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. I do look at my data. About 50% of you, that's right, I'm calling you out, 50% of you are not subscribed. And I would love for you to come back and watch more videos and hang out with me, Katie and Sergeant Steele, and all of our cool stuff talking Guard and Imperium. Of course, I do battle reports every once in a while, and I do list reviews, and I'll be reviewing the Codex as soon as it drops. So I'll be very excited for that as well. If you're looking at this in the future, then maybe it's already out and you've already seen that content. Awesome! I hope you've enjoyed that too. As always, have fun wargaming, and remember, Cadius stands.